It's a big topic, where do you start? I get that it can feel, a bit daunting, but the answer isn't just to ignore it or portray it badly in a tokenistic way.
We're never gonna get it right all the time. There's always an opportunity to learn and to grow and to be better.
We need to be brave to speak up and stand up.
When we think about some of the biggest issues that we're grappling with as a society, gender pay gap, the fact that we don't see enough women or people from ethnic minorities in senior leadership positions, when we think about gender-based violence, all of these are rooted in stereotypes. Advertising has a huge role to play, not only in dismantling the harmful stereotypes, but replacing those stereotypes with portrayals and depictions that can positively impact and change attitudes and behaviours in society.
We avoid stereotypes pretty simply when we're representing communities, is we unlearn what we think we know about those communities.
Breaking away from the kind of fixed views of who people are and what identities they have and what they can be.
And we go out there and we find out how communities are actually acting, how they're actually behaving and what they actually like and dislike.
Making sure that we're super curious, understanding at an insight level what makes people tick.
And have that kind of wonder that children have and that curiosity, but obviously the respect of an adult.
One of our brands is Baileys, and it has been on a journey. If you look at our advertising from 5 years ago, it would have been expressed from potentially a man's point of view. There would have been a stereotype of a good-looking woman drinking Baileys. Now, if you look at the work we've done in the last 3 or 4 years, there's been a real evolution. We've really started telling stories from the point of view of women. Yeah? And if I look at the latest campaign which Baileys has done, which is Baileys Witches, it really starts to do that same storytelling in that same joyous, fun way, but with the LGBTQ community. And that starts to feel really authentic, which can really do the job for the brand, but also for the culture.
So they've managed to really turn it around, which is proof that brands can make mistakes, but also if they work hard, they can really change that.
Really love the latest Pantene shampoo advert, which features a disability activist that I admire, Lucy Edwards. So Lucy herself is blind, and the advert was all around, her hair. It involved things like sound, the way that she feels. And I just thought, this is so creative. It made me stop in my tracks. I just want to see more of that, more creativity and more diversity on screen.
It's not an ad of people with disabilities, it's an ad with representation and diversity. So, it really comes to understanding the people, bringing them in an integral way. So it's not tokenistic.
The We the 15 campaign was the first of its kind in the sense of one of the biggest human rights campaigns ever. I think, the fact that, giving a platform to the 15% of the world, that community, the narrative being owned by them, featured by them, and really challenging everybody in terms of how we see representation of disabled people. Often the focus around disability is this sense of inspiration porn and this kind of, we really lean on them as kind of these superhumans, and actually just having this kind of wonderfully ordinary narrative around the disabled community was really quite an experience for all of us.
I think to truly represent marginalised groups authentically, you have to be committed to telling a range of stories.
One person from a community doesn't represent the whole communities.
In trying to be inclusive, we actually were being exclusive. Because if you think about how many types of disabilities there are, it's very difficult to have one product that meets the needs of all people.
The South Asian community can't really be represented by one kind of type of person. I think there needs to be an understanding that South Asians, especially British Asians, are from different generations. We're from different regions, we speak different dialects, we have different kind of ways of life.
And I think part of the issue is when there is just one story which has about 2 seconds, once a year maybe.
We did all notice ourselves around the Christmas period. There seemed to be lots of mixed race families appearing in our TV commercials. A target audience out there that for the rest of the year, we've not been showing.
Tell lots of different stories, so they're not having the pressure for that one story to do all of the work.
It always helps if you're working with those audiences, and that's the principles of Create Not Hate, is that we're working with the people that we're representing, and we are getting that real community insight from people who are living it and breathing it every day. And I think in an ideal world, you'd have a company filled with people that mirror the population and mirror the people that you're talking to.
The people who are developing, producing, capturing, editing, delivering, that team all the way through needs to be representative of society.
There is an arrogance to assume that you know everything and that your team can all look the same and be the same and assume that they know about the different communities. If you don't think that there's enough black women and directors and you're in a position to hire them, then hire them. If you're casting and you think that there's not enough people with disabilities, hire them or cast them. So take full responsibility in creating the kind of change that you want to see.
The Cream Egg campaign showcased a number of different types of people. There were a number of different petitions that suddenly went live, and they all focused on 2 gay men sharing a cream egg in a kind of kiss. And that reaction was about everything from the sexualization of chocolate to more broadly homophobia in advertising. And what we were heartened by was the fact that as much as there was a very negative reaction, which shows just how far we need to come as a nation, there was also a really strongly positive reaction and people sticking up for the content, petitioning for it to stay online. The ASA complaints were not upheld. It was a really, really strong reaction from both sides, but an overall positive.
We never thought about the amount of exposure that those actors would have. Those people need to be cared afterwards as well, making sure that they have some media trainings behind, make sure that they have all the support needed from a mental health perspective as well, and also compensate them for the time that they're going to spend on social media supporting your ad or being brand ambassadors as well.
I think criticism will always come, and it's about what do you do with that? How do you learn? How do you use it to be better? As long as the criticism is constructive, that's the place that you learn from. That's the place that you grow, and it comes back to how are you working with others to make the work more rich and not just, well, this is what I think, or I heard.
It's important to have that sort of beta mindset the whole time, learn, evolve, and keep going.
And not everyone's going to love what you do. You couldn't do what we do if you weren't prepared to put yourself out there constantly. I think you just have to learn to recognise that you can't please everybody, and actually some of the best advertising doesn't please everybody.
When you do have something that has created a big noisy splash which you weren't prepared for, the biggest thing that Channel 4 does is raise its hands up and says, okay, fine, we've got it, we hear it, but it's a learning opportunity.
Look for that, seek that, actually open up and do a 360 to say, let's have some feedback. Where are we at right now? Like from you to us, we want to be better. It's not something that we're very good at doing. It's definitely not something that we've been comfortable doing in the last 2 years. But I think as advertising comes more in line with other industries about how we talk about ourselves, it's really about us being open and honest and comfortable in that.
Most people have a social media platform and are more willing to share negative comments than positive comments. And I think, from my perspective, we're all about trying to do the right thing, impact positive change. I think you've got to stay strong and stay positive and stay true to what you believe in. And I think you won't go wrong if you kind of follow those principles.
Be clear in your credibility. So if you've done the work to tell the story authentically and really stand in that confidence that you have in the credibility to tell that story, and I think continue to maintain that as your narrative as to the why.
I think if you as a brand can truly say you've done the work to understand that community that you're trying to represent, then you've done your best.
This is a journey, we're all on it together, and I think the more we can help each other, the better.
I want brands and advertisers to take away that they're in a pretty powerful position to be able to support cultural change.
Seize the moment and that opportunity to have a positive impact by portraying people positively and role modelling. It's up to you. You have to take that responsibility really seriously.
Usually, any approach to diversity, especially in advertising, it always silos people's identities. So I think nuance is so important.